Hey guys, let's talk about winter. Yeah, it's not winter yet. It's still just October, but November's around the corner. Halloween's coming. A lot of places, hey, it snows at Halloween. So let's start planning. Start thinking about ahead. It's coming. We know winter's coming. We have to be prepared. A lot of us, when winter comes, we just throw on everything we own at the first crack of when it gets cold. And then we start stripping stuff up as we realize we don't want to be that warm. Because remember, when you run, you want to dress for 10 degrees warmer than it actually is. It's because you will warm up, and if you're warm to start with, oh my God, once you start after the first kilometer, so you're gonna be sweating like crazy. And it's not comfortable. You can strip stuff off, but what you'll find too, if you do that, if you overheat and start stripping stuff off, if you strip stuff off, you start getting cold, you put the stuff back on, overheat again, take stuff off. It's hot and sweaty, hard to take stuff off. So yeah, don't overthink. But main thing, let's start with safety. Let's start with the first thing first, feet. What do you do with your feet? Ice, snow, falling, be careful. A lot of you guys know my story. I told you, I think I fell, might have, but I had a bad fall 2 years ago, still recovering from that. So be careful with that. It's just a mistake. I just said, hey, I don't need traction today. I don't have the 2 seconds it would take to put the traction on my shoes, the traction aids. And yeah, I fell and knocked myself out. So be careful with that. Do what I say, not what I do. I sound like a dad, but yeah. Look for shoes. I like the idea of shoes that are built for running on for a specific reason, right? If you're running trails, run trail shoes. If you're running on snow and ice, buy shoes that work on snow and ice. Sometimes a trail shoe will work on snow and ice, but running shoes for winter are built for certain things, like winter tires, right? My favorite shoe ever, I shouldn't say I've got a favorite shoe, but I like the Saucony Peregrine. And there's a reason why I like it. First of all, it's built specifically for this. It's built specifically for this reason. It's not just, a lot of times manufacturers will take a shoe, a regular everyday running shoe, and throw traction on the bottom and say, hey, this is now for winter. It changes the gait of the shoe. It doesn't feel quite the same. So a shoe specifically made. Saucony makes like 3 different Peregrines, one for just trails, one for trails with mud, lots of mud and water that have drain holes in them. And then this puppy here. It's got the big lugs on it, so a little more secure on ice and snow. It's got Gore-Tex to keep you nice and warm. And the rubber they use has a little more traction to it, a little more gummy, so more traction as well. Not perfect. It's like a snow tire. You're still going to slip a little bit, like they say for snow tires, right? You may not stop immediately, but you will stop quicker than you would if you didn't have a snow tire. Just be careful, because yes, these are pretty good. They will work, but watch for the trails, because you know there's snow and ice. If it's black ice, you still have to be careful. They do sand here in St. Albert. I don't know where else, but they do sand, they do clear. Sometimes they buff, which makes the ice even slipperier, so watch for that. A lot of times they clear the snow wide enough that you can run on the grass on the side of the trails too, so that happens a lot of places too. Roads are better than sidewalks lots of times, because roads are cleared on maybe more traction there. But be careful, make sure you can be seen. But stick with feet. If you don't want to buy a specific shoe, you can go for something like these things. Yeah, for traction, they've got the pins on them. The trick is you have to remember to put them on your shoe, or what I say, have 2 shoes, have 1 shoe where you throw these on and just leave them for the entire winter, so you're not taking them off, putting them on. And have to remember, because again, if you've got don't have that 5 minutes, right? If you're like me, you won't put them on. So put them on, leave them on until it's spring and it melts. They're a little bit too tough to put on. They have to be hard to put on, because if they're hard to put on, they're going to be hard to fall off. Make sure they're for run specific and not for boots and everyday shoes, because those are a little bit looser. Costco, I think, sells some of those, and what'll happen is you'll just lose one of these and keep on running, and then realize after you run you've lost one. So make sure they fit perfectly, snugly, and they will work. Again, they feel a little bit funkier on the shoes. You will notice the pins feeling sometimes on a regular pair of shoes, and this part on the toe actually feels a little bit of pressure is there too. So not the most comfortable things in the world, but they do work, and I have used them. And yeah, you usually get a pair for Christmas every year, because my wife realizes her husband's an idiot. Others, Yaktrax. Again, Costco sell these, we sell these. Best for deep snow, deep ice. If you're running on asphalt and concrete ever, what'll happen is the springs on here, which provide some of the traction, will actually just break. So if you're running, depending where you're running, might be a good idea. A lot of people use them. A lot of times we have these, all that's left, we've ransacked, and that's all people will buy. They're pretty secure, but again, for a specific reason, right? Also, you can go for screws. A lot of us have done this in past times when, you know, the roads were built, they're made out of dirt. And screws are interesting. Again, there's something you're going to put on and leave in the shoe and leave for the winter, right? So not a bad idea. Just be careful where you put the screws, because some screws some shoes, especially Nike, they have an air pocket, right? So if you put a screw in that air pocket, you're gonna pop that air pocket. You won't notice the problem until you take the screws out, and as I learned, you'll hear a squish, 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 squish as you run. That's the air pocket letting air out. So be careful of that. There's gel in shoes and stuff now. These are the screws. I don't know if you can see this on there. And this is the part that sticks out of the shoe. You just stick the pointy part in. Okay, there. That sort of works. And there, that's a screw. It's not very deep. It stays in your shoe. Only time I've had problems with it is if the roads have been, or trails have been sanded, and sand will get caught in the screw as well, so then you lose the traction. So an option you don't want to think about it twice either, right? But again, you throw them in, forget about it. What the heck? They're fine. So what you do, one of the problems with shoes too, if you're going to take your everyday regular shoe, mesh, right? A lot of people say, well, my feet get cold. There's a couple things you can do. We don't have the products in the store right now, and I didn't bring mine with me. But a lot of people will take the shoe and just throw duct tape over the mesh to keep the wind out, because, yeah, wind chill, that's what causes the cold. There are products, there's a thing called a toe warmer you can actually throw inside the shoe that just covers the toe and just covers the mesh and keeps you warm that way. There are toe warmers too. You can actually buy hand warmers and toe warmers, right? That again, Costco and other places, Walmart sell them. I use mine for my hands. I never have used for my feet. I usually find my feet warm up pretty quickly, so I don't really do that. But if you need to, that's an option. And just remember, when you run, you're gonna warm up. Eventually, your feet and hands will warm up. So that's the feet. That's the feet. We'll talk about socks. Socks. Do you need a winter-specific sock? I'm gonna say, if you feel you need to, fine. But no, don't really need it. But winter sock. I just buy a technical sock. I make sure I have a technical sock, not cotton, so it keeps you warm. If you must, make sure it's just as thin as a sock you had on when you bought your shoes. A lot of people put on a thicker sock. Well, which sock did you wear when you bought the shoe, right? Is it still gonna fit? I mean, we do have winter socks. We have these puppies, double layer, but they're like, I don't know if you played hockey, but these are the thick socks we would throw on our skates, right? It's, I guess, an option if you really need it. You will sweat in these a little bit more than you would in our other double layer socks. Again, and you want the sock to draw the sweat out and evaporate, which you want, yeah, so you want that. But don't overthink that. The shoe should provide a little bit of the warmth to the sock. Yeah, maybe if you want a little bit higher up your calf, that's an option as well. But don't overthink the socks for the warmth. I think shoes first. Mizuno makes a sock that will warm up as you run. I'm not sure. I've never tried them. I'm not sure how I'd like that, because again, you're going to sweat, and you don't want to sweat. As you guys have watched Survivor Man know, if you sweat, that's the bad thing. So safety. Let's keep on the safety thing. You want to be able to see, and you want to be able to be seen, because time change is coming up. It's starting to get dark like about 5 o'clock at night. So if you're running at 6 o'clock at night, you're in the dark, and you want to be able to see, and you want to be even more important, you want to be seen. Headlamp to see is great. I have one here. Again, this thing. Some run are batteries, some are rechargeable. I like batteries because rechargeable seems to be really not the greatest, because what if you haven't charged it up enough? So batteries are good. But yeah, just make sure you got the right lumens, and they're easy to turn on and turn off. Some are really a bit trickier, so check that out. But you want to be able to see, because you want to see what's on the ground. You want to see people coming towards you, because not everybody else is going to be wearing reflective stuff. But you wanted that, but you also want to be seen, so reflective stuff for sure. One of the easiest ways is a snap band. Again, just on your arm or on your legs if you want, just these things. I won't put it on because I don't want to ruin it. But Nathan makes them, we make them, there's a few other brands that make them. They're just snap bands, they just snap onto your arm and they reflect. A lot of clothing will too. I've got a jacket. I was gonna leave it on, but I didn't. Brooks has made a whole bunch of reflective stuff, and this stuff will reflect like crazy. There's other brands too that you'll look at people and you're going, oh my God, but that's a good thing. Because if you're running at night, even just crossing the street, you want people to be able to see you, right? So just go with that. Also, was there something else I was gonna do? No, headbands, reflective for sure. You can get vests as well, reflective vests, and these are great all year round. Again, just you wanna be able to be seen. I think I've told the story where I was out for a run one night. I just had to kill time. And I was running on this dark trail. I had nothing on, I wasn't planning to run. But I was running on one side, down center, and all of a sudden I just moved to the side for some reason. And there's a guy on a bike doing the same thing coming towards me without a headlamp without anything reflective. We just missed each other. And that could have turned out really, really badly. So yeah, you want to make sure you can see, but make sure you can be seen as well, because sometimes it's dangerous. Now, staying warm. Again, remember that you're gonna warm up. You're gonna warm up like really quickly. Your first couple steps, yeah, it's gonna be cold. What happens is your bodily fluids rush to protect your vital organs, right? So your hands and feet usually get cold right away. And yes, they do get really, really cold. Sometimes I will use the hand warmers, just throw my gloves and warm up that way. But I just realized it's gonna be cold. Mitts are better than gloves, and you can throw your gloves in your mitts if there's room. Just make sure your hands don't overheat, because what happens is they will overheat, they will sweat, and at some point you're gonna have to take your gloves off to tie your shoes or something. Good luck putting your gloves back on your hands again after that. So I like, did I bring gloves? Okay, I'll have to dig through this to find gloves. We're still talking about socks a bit, technical socks. Where did I put the gloves? Okay, this wasn't really planned because this was supposed to be a nutrition talk. Right. Gloves. Other stuff. There we go. Good. So gloves. I love these things. They're really warm, but the one thing yeah, they're fine. They're good. They're warm. I like them. They're easy to put on, take off. They don't when they overheat, it doesn't feel like you're trying to stuff your hand into, I don't know, a wet baggie or something. They're easy to take off, put on, and they're fairly warm. Fingers are still gonna get cold, but I love them. But you can do the convertible thing, which I'm not a big fan of, but again, it's a mitt and it's a glove in a mitt. So this just keeps the wind chill off your fingers. A lot of times what I do with gloves is I'll just make a fist inside the glove and keep my hand warm until everything warms up. Then I just back again. So that's an option. And I like these as well. These are more like liners. You can put them inside a mitt. And again, it doesn't take up a lot of room. And they're easy to take off if you start to warm up and you just want to wear the mitt, right? So that's an option. And your head. The thing to remember about your head is all the heat comes out of your head. So if you want to stay warm, cover up your head. Of course, I did not bring a toque. So throw a toque on, make sure it breathes a little bit. But yeah, there's lots of options. Just throw something on that's technical, it'd be fine. But other option is it gets really, really cold. Balaclavas is an option. My strategy for my head when it's really cold is I wear 3 layers. I wear a balaclava, headband, and a toque. And as I warm up, I take stuff off. Nice thing about balaclavas, you can just pull them off and they just become a neck warmer, which is actually, I'm gonna talk about that in a second. But balaclavas, you have to be able to, some people need to breathe. These do have breathing holes in them, but sometimes you wanna pull it down so you can breathe. We'll talk about that in 5 seconds. Other gaiters is a bit better. It almost looks like a beak over your nose. So again, that's another option. That's a great option. But yeah, covering your mouth, covering your head. Best thing in the world is a thing called buff. Did I bring a buff? Buffs, these things. Buffs, I like buffs for a bunch of things. One thing, first of all, I always wear a buff around my neck, underneath my jacket, because a lot of you have a jacket on, most of the heat drifts out your neck, right, or the cold comes in through there. So you want to keep that covered to keep the body heat in. So buff around there is great. But buffs are great too because you can wear them as a headband, you can wear them as a toque, and they can also be worn as a face mask, which is really good. A lot of guys try to do these for COVID. They don't work quite the same thing as a regular COVID mask. But yeah, it keeps you warm and you can breathe through them and they're easy to pull down, easy to pull back up. And that's sort of the idea is if you cover your mouth, it keeps the moisture in, right? It keeps the moisture in your mouth so you don't get that dry mouth feeling when you're running in the wintertime. So a great option. If you keep that liquid, that fluid in your mouth, that sounds gross, but keep moist. I think Trudeau said that at one point, but keep it moist, you'll be fine. That's the whole point. I know a lot of people worry about freezing their lungs in the wintertime. That's never gonna happen. You'll die first, then your lungs will freeze. But yeah, don't think about that. A lot of people, 1, 2, 3, freeze your, nah, you're not gonna freeze your lungs. But yeah, so great option. Buffs are amazing. I'm just gonna say that. Buy a buff now. There's some designed just specifically for winter, but even an ordinary buff will help. I like them and they keep you warm and yeah, and they come in very different colors and stuff. Okay, so let's talk about jackets. Let's talk about what else you're gonna wear. Jackets, you want options. You want stuff. First of all, if you want to be able to layer, which is really good, because again, it's colder, coldest, right? Cold, sometimes you just need that almost like just a windbreaker, because the thing that causes the cold is the wind chill, right? It's cold, but the wind chill is what makes you really cold. So just a basic, something like this. It's not very thick, right? Well, can't really tell this on a camera, but it's not very thick. It's basically just a windbreaker. I bought these a few years ago, this jacket a few years ago, thinking it'd be great to volunteer at the Hypo Half standing outside. Froze to death because I'm standing in one spot. I'm not moving, I'm not getting warm. So that, remember that when you throw a jacket on, you're gonna warm up really quickly. So again, great, but there's a lot of room underneath, so you can actually layer. You can throw a vest on underneath, maybe a long sleeve shirt or 2 shirts. Make sure the shirt's both wick. This provides the warmth, keeps the wind chill off. Everything you wear underneath provides the warmth. So remember that. We'll talk a bit more about this after this recording too. If you go really, there's other options too. Something we did a few years ago is we started adding balaclavas to our jackets at the top. So that's another option too. So you don't have to buy separate. It just goes over your head. Sometimes people want hoods. I'm not a big fan of hoods, but if you want a hood, that's fine. And just, again, this is a little bit thicker. So you want to try them on. If you want thicker, yes, if you go thicker, then you don't have to layer as much. But if it gets really warm, this might be too warm. So be careful with that. Because again, warm, but not too warm. Some people like running a bit cool. Some people like running, actually normally run warm again, so they don't have to wear as much. But it's hit and miss, practice. Keep a journal. Run, throw what you want on, make notes of what worked, what didn't. So next time it's that temperature, you can just look back in the journal and say, aha, that's what I wore that time, and it worked. Or it didn't work, I should change that, right? So yeah, it's live and learn. There's a website I'll actually send on, I guess, Monday's email. And it actually, you throw in the temperature and it'll tell you what you should wear. It's hit and miss. Sometimes it's an American site, so sometimes they get it right. Sometimes they think, you know, you can wear shorts in -32, or they don't quite understand -32. But yeah, if you want to go warmer again, Saucony threw these at us. Again, this is going to be super warm. It's super insulated, so if it's -25, yeah, great. But again, once you got this on, you're stuck with it on for the entire run, right? So make sure you're sure of that. And actually, not a bad looking jacket. So we talked head, we talked body, we talked just about everything reflective. Some gloves will be reflective too. These things are as well. I didn't mention that. So that's an option. And oh, lower body, right? What do we do for our lower body? I'm gonna be right back. I'm coming, don't worry. I just have to find some stuff. It depends what type of tights you like. I like tights. I don't know if you can hear me. First of all, guys, little tip. Little tip. Aha. This, protect that certain body part. If you've never frozen that before, you don't want to ever do it. It's painful. So yeah, cover that body part. Ladies, you don't have to worry about this, but we do. Yeah, frozen, that you don't want to freeze that part. And even worse is thawing that part out. Okay, so leggings. Again, you want, I don't know why we need water repellent, but maybe some people do. These are water repellent. What you want is, again, top like bottom. Do you have to layer? If it's like really, really cold, maybe. I always find my thighs warm up, my legs warm up pretty quick. But usually it's the thighs that freeze. I know ladies, it's the butt. But just cover that up. A lot of times for ladies to keep that part warm, just throw an extra layer on top. Throw a pair of shorts on top of the tights. That doesn't hurt. We used to have fleece shorts that people loved. We don't carry them anymore, but that's an option if you find them somewhere else. But there's also, what was it called? It's a skirt. It's like a skirt, but it's pleated like a duffel, or like a jacket, right? Like these things. But again, it kept people warm, so that's also an option. But yeah, so tights for sure. I like mine really, really tight. I like compression, but some people like looser, so again, you gotta try them on and make sure they fit like that. You can get long johns to put underneath if you need that extra warmth, but tights will work. I did bring Sauconys as well, but again, you can't really see in this little camera. But again, tights are great. You can get tights that are reflective. I got a pair somewhere here, but I'm not bother bringing those out. But yeah, tights. And make sure they're long enough. I sort of like a little bit shorter than my socks, so there's a little bit of skin showing there. But you want to make sure they're right down to the sock or the shoe. Make sure there's like a zipper or an elastic at the bottom because they're hard to take off and hard to put on. I like a zipper. Sometimes that zipper causes friction, but that's another option too. And there's a lot of options. We'll talk after this 20-minute video about stuff, and I'll just bring out some of the stuff that I have and have used. I like the idea of a journal. I like the idea of keeping track. I like safety is important. The warmth, you will warm up. It's like hockey too. If you ever played hockey outside or skated outside, you know, you start off cold, eventually you warm up, and then you thaw afterwards. So yeah, just remember that. Always dress for 10 degrees warmer than it is. And even now, watch the traction. One of the bad falls I've had is running in the fall. I think it was Halloween day, and I slipped on some slippery leaves, right? Because all the trails are covered with leaves right now. And that was awful as well. So just be careful of that. Again, watch for it, be careful. Some people say shorten your stride. You should have a short stride already, so don't worry about that. Just make sure when you run, you make that contact with the ground. Make sure you put that pressure on the ground. You're taking short steps already, but make sure it's beneath your body, center of gravity, and you push down, and that traction has a chance to grip. Even our regular shoes will have some traction on that, some more than others. I like my favorite two shoes are Ons and New Balance 860s. They have a bit more of a traction to it, and I just make sure I press down when I run rather than whatever. Make sure you got that pressure so the traction has a chance to grip. You don't really want to always do that, but it's a thought, right? You want to make sure you do that, but again, make sure you have the traction aids. And if you do have trail shoes when it's like this in the shoulder season, doesn't hurt to wear them as well. And yeah, so let's start working on questions. You probably have tons of them. I've got a few more other things I want to talk about today, so we'll do that. And yeah, thanks for coming. It's time for me to drink my coffee and get ready to open the store. And